What is up, Sneeples? We're going to go over the assassin class. We have a ton of new cards that every assassin would be looking at, from Arachne Huntsman to new. We are going to go over each one of these cards and see which assassin cards can go with what hero and what assassin cards to avoid altogether, as well as looking at limited. So let's get to it. Alrighty, here we are doing the assassins. So we already did all the mystic heroes. You can go check out those videos to see if they what cards are good in constructed, what cards are good in limited. Now we're gonna do the assassins. We're gonna start off with Bonds of Agony. So this card is pretty real. I didn't think it was super real at first, only because it says if you played or activated 3 or more attack reactions, which I thought, I mean, geez, that's really demanding. But with the instances of Hiss bringing out Slither and Venomous Bite bringing out Fang or Strike or something like that. Let's see what they're called. I know Hiss brings out Slither and Venomous Bite brings out Fang Strike. Yeah, I got it right. Yeah, so like, yeah, that's 2 already right there. Plus your equipment can count as attack reactions. If you flick knives, if you Black Tech Whisper, you know, whatever, that can also be another attack reaction. So getting 3, not too terrible. All right, also you might just have 3 just because you're probably going to be running a lot of attack reactions with this sort of deck. But this one's really good. Being able to take away their best card from hand is already good enough, but like taking away possibly the best card from their hand and their deck is actually insane. So Bonds of Agony is a card that has to be respected. I like that it's blue. It has a lot of synergy for what you're trying to do. I like that even that it comes in for 1 because there's a few cards that we'll get into that pumps it up that way. And I like that it's an assassin, so you can use this in multiple ways. You can even use this in Azuri and switch it into it from Azuri. That's even a possibility. I don't know if you really would, but it's a possibility. I think this is going to be a must-have for new. I think that is where we're going to see it most of the time in constructed. I think limited, go ahead and draft this. This is a pretty good in limited, even so needing 3. I think you're fine. A lot of the equipments there can also be attack reaction, so I think you're fine to do it in limited as well. As far as other constructed, I have made an Arachne Solitary Confinement. That is the one that has your stealth get go again, and I think it's really good in that. I don't think the other Arachne would particularly play this. It's not really a contract card, so it doesn't really work with the other Arachne. I think this is mostly a new and Arachne Solitary Confinement sort of card. So that's what I think we'll be looking at. I don't really think Uzuri's going to be playing this one. All right, next up, Persuasive Prognosis. This one you could see Uzuri play. I think you could even see Arachne play. I think you could play this as any sort of assassin. I think this is something that you're going to want to play just because it has a good on-hit effect, basically. Banish the top card of their deck, and then like just banishing a card with the same name as a banish card, or this, same color as a banish card. So, yeah, I mean, just gaining some life and banishing up to 2 cards. If you come in with a contract card and able to give it go again, maybe Coercive Tendencies or whatever with Arachne, then coming in with this card next can help really fulfill those contracts you have 2 chances to. So pretty decent card there. I think this is pretty good to play in potentially Uzuri. It's just stealth. It's a blue stealth card that you can switch into later. I don't know if the on-hit is super needed in the Uzuri, though. Arachne Solitary Confinement, yes. And then new, definitely yes. I think this is a great card for new. So, yes. I think you're going to see this. And then in draft, I definitely draft this pretty high as well. Just a Nick. So this is what helps pump up the Bonds of Agony, helps pump up the Persuasive Prognosis. Being able to choose to give it +5 is actually really fun, really cool. And then giving a card with stealth, allowing them to banish the top card of the deck. So basically, your stealth cards could have another chance to banish a card, which could give you another chance to gain a life, even gain multiple life. So just a Nick is a really cool card. It is situational as far as to get the real value of it, 0 for 5. But I think in limited, I think this is going to be a very good card. I would definitely play in limited. In constructed, I'm a little less high on it as the other two Majestics that we went over, just because it is a little situational. It does work with these two very well, but other than that, it basically has to be a blue. So I'm not as high on it there. Maybe I will do new. I think that's about the only thing I could see this being in. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's very, very good. But right now, I see this more as a good limited card than a constructed card. Next up, Art of Desire Body. Okay, so this card is sweet. This card, I think, does get played in all Assassins. Maybe not Arachne, the Huntsman, but I think you definitely play this in even Uzuri. I think this just has a good on hit, potentially being able to draw a card, gain 1 life. If you can get this go again with either Snap Dragons or Black Tech Whispers, I think that's pretty damn good. A lot of decks have a lot of red cards, so there's a good chance you can draw a card and gain 1 life off of that. And it's a stealth card, so you can always like switch with Uzuri. I think Uzuri is probably the weakest of the heroes that can like use it. I think the strongest case is New and Arachne Solitary Confinement. I really like Arachne Solitary Confinement with this card just because you can lead with it. And it'll have go again because it has stealth. And so if you draw a card off of it, then you can, attack with that card. So this could be a 1 card, like you block up everything else from hand, play this 1 card, and it could allow you to have 2 attacks. So I think that's actually really cool. And then of course with New, this card's very, very good with New. Just allows you might not be able to have go again with it, or you might have a Slither. So maybe you do have go again. So I think that's very good if you can have go again. Even if you can't, just drawing that card to put in the arsenal can be very nice. So I like Art of Desire Body a lot. This is I'm going to draft this pretty damn high in limited, especially if I'm determining if I'm being assassin. So I think this card will see play in constructed and limited. I think it's just that good. Bonds of Attraction is kind of the same way in my eyes, mostly because you can banish a card from the graveyard, and I actually think that's pretty good into a lot of heroes, particularly when we talk about Levia, heroes that will need their graveyard to work with, and those are 2 that definitely would. Any deck that runs Remembrance, obviously. But yeah, so Bonds of Attraction. Now this one is interesting. I'm not exactly sure if this is how it reads, but this is how it comes off to me. It comes off that you banish both these cards. You have at the same time, the triggers to banish both these cards happen at the same time, which could allow you to gain 2 life as long as they were the same color. So this happens where you banish top card and you banish a card from the graveyard. So you banish those 2 cards, and then this says whenever this banishes a card, if this has banished another card with the same name, gain 1 life. I think because they are coming in at the same time, I would imagine they will both see each other and they will both allow you to gain 1 life. If that's not the case, then you would only instead of gaining 2 life, you'd gain 1 life. Either way, this could be a 0 for 4 or a 0 for 5 if it works the way I'm saying. Anyways, I think it's still pretty good. I think it could see some play in both limited and constructed. I'm not as high on it as Art of Desire Body, but Bonds of Attraction I think is a very good card that I would be looking to play and to draft. Double Trouble. This one I'm a little bit less on than the other 2 that we went over. This one just has, if you play or activate 2 or more attacks reaction, that gets +2. So this could be a 0 for 5 if you activate it more. I mean, it's just damage. You do get to banish the top 2 cards of their deck. With new ability, you could possibly be able to play them. With Arachne Huntsman, maybe you're filling in some contracts by doing this. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it's fantastic. I think if you want some like damage at the end, maybe you can play Double Trouble, but I don't know. I'm a little off this card. Maybe in the blue, I'm not so off of it, because it could be a 0 for 3 blue. That's kind of nice, but yeah, as of now, I'm not high on this card. I think in draft it's okay. It's not something I'm gonna just not do, but in constructed, I don't think I'm playing this card. Bonds of Memory. This one is, again, you're banishing a card from their graveyard. This one, if it has the same name, you gain a life, so it's not as common as Bonds of Attraction. But because it does take from the grave, I'm kind of okay with that. I think they're taking away from the grave is actually pretty good, because if they have a card in the grave, they've either blocked with it or they played it. And if they played it, it's because it's a good card. So when you're playing cards like Codex of Frailty, which you are because that's an assassin card, basically choosing what card they could put in their arsenal, because you play cards like Bonds of Attraction, Bonds of Memory, is kind of fun, right? Like, you're kind of being like, hey, you're not going to put anything good there. You're going to put this terrible blue card that you, like a blue debilitate, that you just don't want to see. I think that can be really, really fun. So I actually do like Bonds of Memory in both constructed and limited. I think it's because it's common. I think it'll be easy to draft. Yeah, big into this card. I like this card a lot. Desires of Flesh. I think this card, as far as Bonds of Memory, I think this card's probably just a new card and an Arachne Solitary Confinement card. I don't think you're going to see this in Uzuri or Arachne Huntsman. Desires of Flesh. This one is a fairly easy one to gain a life from. So I think I like this a lot in limited. This is probably one that I like more than all the other ones that are kind of like it, like Impulsive Desires, Mind's Desires. We'll get into those, pick the pieces. But just because most of, like, unless you're going against Enigma, a lot of decks have attack action cards, so there's a good chance you can gain 1 life off of it. And that's always nice, because then it's a 0 for 4 if it does hit. This will be played in Arachne Solitary Confinement, but I'm not sure if this makes it new. I would say so, but there is just it's new is going to be a tight deck. I think there's not a ton of Mystic Assassin cards, so I think you're kind of in a constraint of what cards you could play, and I'm not sure if the Desires of Flesh makes a cut. Impulsive Desires, this one's just a reaction instant card, so probably not as likely. I actually like the art on this. It's kind of cool action right here. But yeah, probably not as likely. So this one I draft because it has like a non-hit effect, I guess. But like I'm definitely putting Desires of Flesh over Impulsive Desires. Mind Desires, this one's not so bad, especially when you're going against like Enigma, where she has a lot of action auras. I think this one you can play and feel good into. It's probably, Desires of Flesh is probably going to give you a little bit more value, but Mind Desire is not bad either. I think I would draft this, but I think Desires of Flesh would probably hit the constructed scene before Mind's Desire. So I don't think Mind's Desire is going to see any sort of constructed play. Right, and it picked to pieces. This one's an anti-Enigma card. I think you should definitely, especially if you're Assassin, you should definitely look to pick this up, because this can just help just get through the ward, and I think this is kind of a necessity. So this might even be hate drafted by Enigma players, honestly. So it is a common, so it's more accessible. So I think you definitely want to draft this fairly high, just to shore up that Enigma matchup. I think Pick the Piece is going to really help with that. So yeah, get this card and just to keep them off their ward, basically. This might see some sideboard play. I could definitely see some sideboard play. This and Malign are 2 assassin cards that can get through all the ward. So I'm not sure which one would get played over the other as of now. Pick the Pieces or Malign. Probably Malign, because you don't need to play an attack reaction to make it work. But I think you're either way going to be playing attack reaction regardless. This might see Uzuri, but I'm pretty sure this is mostly just new. Okay, and that is our assassin cards. So that is all the new assassin cards. I think the biggest winners from these cards isn't Arachne Huntsman, isn't Uzuri. Really, I think it's definitely new, and Arachne Solitary Confinement. I think those are the two assassins that definitely improved the most with all these cards. So all right, I think Assassin's going to be in this meta and in the Blitz meta, probably much more prevalent in the constructed meta or in the CC meta. So I would expect that, but I think she's also going to be pretty fun to draft. So until then, keep on fabbing.